All right, as I oftentimes like to do, I like to start off with a question, okay? And the question pertains to, it might be a series of questions, it pertains to the return of who the world ignorantly and incorrectly calls Jesus Christ. That's why the name Jesus is in quotation marks in the title, quote Jesus. His true name is Yahweh, which is the ancient Paleo-Hebrew for he delivers, because his name literally tells you what he's coming to do. He's coming to deliver, right? And who is he going to come to deliver? Well, the elect of the nation of Israel, according to the scriptures, according to the Bible. But what I want to ask you is, with regards to the return of Yahweh, who the world ignorantly and incorrectly calls Jesus Christ, all right, with regards to his return, when is he coming back? What's his return going to look like? You know, kind of like two questions, 1A and 1B. You know, what's his return going to what's his return going to look like, and when is he coming back? You know, how, in what manner is he going to return to this earth? And most who consider themselves to be Bible believers, you know, of whatever variety they are, including pagan Christians, would say that the return of Yahweh, they would call him quote unquote Jesus. That's a false, fake, phony, idolatrous name, but that's the name that most refer to him as. All right, it's a fake, phony, false, idolatrous name. Okay, it's really the quote unquote Jesus of pagan Christianity is really Tammuz, going back to the Tower of Babel. That's the reason why so many aspects of ancient pagan religions can be so easily superimposed on pagan Christianity, because pagan Christianity is really ancient pagan idolatrous religions covered over with a veil of pagan, with a veil of the scriptures. Okay, it's not true. It's not the truth, man. All right, and that's the reason why, even when I was asleep in my slumber in pagan Christianity, and I would hear some of these things, I'd be like, man, it would kind of disturb me in my spirit, because it was like, man, that you can tell this is true. You can't say anything. Okay, like for example, just celebrating the birth of quote unquote Jesus Christ on December 25th. Okay, and a whole host of other things, the pagan doctrine of the Trinity, and a whole host of other things. Okay, when you get into it and you really pull back the veil, because there's a veil over it, and that veil gives the impression, that veil is a veil of the scriptures, right? So it gives it an impression that kind of hiding behind the scriptures, right? They're hiding behind an appearance of morality, having a form of godliness, but denying the power thereof, right? And so it, you know, but when you pull that back, you see that it's the ancient pagan religions of yesterage, okay, of yesteryear, millennia, okay. That's what it is. But most would say his name is Jesus. His true name is Yahweh. You got to drop the fake, the phony, the false, idolatrous, and get with the truth. His true name is Yahweh. When is he coming back? And how is he coming? What manner of return will he come in? You know, when he comes, how is he going to come? What's his disposition going to be? What's his mood going to be? What's he going to do? Oh, and there's another thing. The pagan Christians, all right, and I know because I was asleep in pagan Christianity for decades, okay? When he comes back, is he coming back like in two parts? Is he going to come back and do like one thing and then sneak off, and people aren't going to really notice that he came, except for they're going to notice that people are missing? But other than that, they wouldn't know that he came, and if they don't believe that he was coming, they'll think that there's some other reason for the people being missing. Is he going to come in a kind of like stealthy way and then come back later and then finish what he was going to do? So is he coming in like the second coming 2.0 and the second coming 2.1 or 2.A or 2.B, or is he just coming all at once? It's just one second coming. See, these are questions we're going to answer in part 30 of this lesson series entitled, I'm going to put the true name in there, Yahweh is coming to bring unimaginable death and destruction. And to start to answer some of those questions before we get back into Amos, the fifth chapter, Yeah, Amos 5. Amos 5. Before we get back into Amos 5 and continue on, because actually we went from Amos 5 to Luke 12. That's where we're at. So we're actually going to be getting back into Luke 12. So before we get back into Luke 12, which is a precept passage for Amos 5, which is a precept passage for Revelation 19, which is a precept passage for 2nd Ezra 13, before we get back into Luke 12 and then back into Amos and then back into Revelation 19, then back into 2nd Ezra, before we do that, we're going to touch on a few things. All right, we're going to touch on a few things, answering those questions. All right, and Yahweh Razah, we will be able to get back into Luke 12 today. Okay, because we're pulling out some real beautiful truths out of Luke 12, coming straight from the mouth of Yahweh Shai, who is the way, the truth, and the life. No man cometh into the Father but by him. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. And so before I go ahead and get started, okay, answering those questions again. All right, basically like 3 questions. All right, when is he coming back? That was pretty quick. Most who carry around a Bible, all right, would say, hey, Yahweh Shai, he's got to be coming back quick. He's got to be coming back soon. He's got to be coming back soon. All right, and you would be correct. But here's the thing, though, as they say, here's the rub, though, because you still ain't quite got it, though. He's coming back. Yes, he's coming back quick, and you got that. But not only is he coming back soon, he's coming back much sooner than you think. Okay? All right? So let's set that to the side. Let's say that's done. Let's put a check in that box. Let's say that question is answered. Okay? All right? And if you think he's coming back in a long time, well, then we're going to get a precept for you on that. Matter of fact, I'll give it to you now. Don't be as those that say, where is the promise of his coming? Since time has began, since the time of our fathers, all things continue as they always have been. If you in that mindset, you really behind the power curve, and you really in danger. You're really in danger of being not ready when he returns. Okay, so we're going to move on from that question. We're going to focus in on the other questions. What manner of return is he coming back in? What's going to be his move? What's going to be his disposition? What's he going to be doing? Kind of roll those all up into one question, and then the final question is there going to be like one? The second coming? Is there 2 parts to the second coming, or is it just one and done? See, because pagan Christianity would say that there's 2 parts to the second coming. That's what they would say. Right? And so to set the stage for answering those questions before we get back into Luke 12, I'm going to open up with this precept right here. And then we're going to put another precept with it that's going to, and you see that I am indeed reading from the King James Version Bible, the Holy Bible, 1611 King James Version, and I don't have any other books out here. I mean, I got some books in my book bag, but I'm not pulling them out. And if I do pull it out, I'm going to show you, right? But this is the only book I'm reading from, and it is the Holy Scriptures, 1611 King James Version. And that's important because we're going to get a precept right from the Bible. Again, you see. And no, I didn't add anything to it. Okay? Matter of fact, let me show you the title page. Okay? Let me show you the title page. And we're getting ready to get started. Okay? This is just my little hook, my little intro. You see the Apocrypha, and you see that how the page is worn, and you see how it's got the, the discoloration from my fingers, right? Because read from the Apocrypha a lot. And you see that in all these, look at that, Malachi, right? Because we be working our Bibles, right? Us true prophets, okay? And my Bible's needing some love, right? But I just want to show you that the Apocrypha is indeed part of the Holy Bible. It was removed. And not only was it removed only 150 years ago. How long has the Bible been around? Well, it was first started being written like thousands of years ago. And it was completed 2,000 years ago. So how are you going to remove something from the Bible 150 years ago when it was completed 2,000 years ago and it was always regarded as scripture? Okay? Showing you, if you got any functioning brain cells, that when they did that, they actually, whoever did all that were participating in doing that, they put themselves in position for the judgment in the book of Revelation that says, whosoever shall add to these words, to him shall be the plagues added that are written therein, and whosoever shall take away from these, from the book of the words of this book, his name shall be blotted out of the book of life. See, somebody's got to get that judgment, and one of the ways, they've done it more than one way. They also had the slave Bible, where they grossly chopped up the Bible and handed us back a fragment of the scriptures when we were here in hardcore slavery, all right, and said, this is your Bible, okay? And that's because they knew that we were the Israelites that they enslaved here, and they knew that we have a serious connection with this book, and this is our bread of life, man. So they damn sure wasn't going to give us the whole Bible, especially when it contains a lot of scriptures in here about us getting delivered to salvation and being delivered from the hands of our enemies and those that oppress us. So they damn sure wasn't going to get. So they chopped the scriptures all kinds of up and handed us back a fraction of the Bible. But you see here, okay, books of the Old Testament, the books called the Apocrypha, right? It's always been there. You didn't know. Okay, and the books of the New Testament, right? It's always been there. And without that, you're missing a ton. For example, you got 4 beasts in Daniel. You got the statue as well. All right, and they're both getting into the same thing, just different metaphors or different visions of the same thing. You know, you got the even the pagan Christian scholars will tell you this, right? Except for when they get down to, you know, I think they start. I think they get it. I think they get all of the solid metals right. But when they get to where it's the iron mixed with miry clay, that's when they mess up, right? But they'll tell you that those beasts, starting with the head of gold, you know, the breasts and arms of silver, and the torso of brass, and then the thighs and legs of iron. They'll tell you that that's the ancient Babylonian Empire. They'll tell you that's the Medo-Persian Empire, and I'm going in order, respectively. They'll tell you that's the Greek Empire, and they'll tell you that's the ancient Roman Empire. Most of them will tell you it's the ancient Roman Empire, okay? All right? But then they mess up when they get down to the iron mixed with miry clay, because the iron mixed with miry clay, that's right here, right now. That's the revived Roman Empire. That's why it still has iron in it. It's the revived Roman Empire, which is, today, you got the... you know, it tells you right there because it was partly weak and partly strong, right? And you got NATO and the EU, and you got over there with NATO and the EU, and of course the capital city of the revived Roman Empire is America, Babylon the Great. And over there in NATO and EU, some of those Edomite-controlled nations are stronger, and some of them are weaker, right? And so that's where you get your iron mixed with miry clay. Also mingle themselves with the seed of men, because they allow some of these other heathen nations that are not part of the Edomite nation, the nation of Esau, Edom, to come and have a seat at the table as long as they play by their rules, right? So my point is, though, you know, all of those empires are in the 66, but not the one about the Greek captivity. In order to get the Greek captivity, you got to go to the Apocrypha, right? And so that's another reason why that was taken out, because that brings clarity into who the Gentiles are that the Apostle Paul was ministering to, and who were the Greeks that he was referring to when he said, for there is neither Jew nor Greek. See, because if you got the Apocrypha in there, and you can read about the Greek captivity just like you read about all the other ones, right? Well, then it makes it clear that those Greeks that he was referring to are Israelites, being called Greeks. It makes it clear that those Gentiles that he was the apostle to were Israelites who had been in a Gentile state of mind. All that is to say that the Apocrypha is indeed scripture, okay? And I gave you a lot of ways to know that. I didn't intend to get into that in that depth. Let me start with this precept here so that we can get going, all right? This is the opening precept that I'm going to wrap the hook up with. And then I'm gonna get going. I'm gonna greet you brothers on the comment board, and then we're gonna get into it. You know, I have some long intros. I don't mean for them to be that long. I just get going, man. You know, I'm trying to shorten them up, or maybe I'll just, you know, kind of do my intro after I open up. You know, I intend to have my intro just for like a couple of minutes, but it like never happens. All right, so Revelation 1:7. Behold, all right, look, what does this mean? What's this talking about? Behold, he cometh with clouds, and every eye shall see him. Yeah, I know, man. But when he comes back the second time, not the second time. When he comes back the second time, everybody's going to see him. But not the second time. Is that true? Okay. Behold, he cometh with clouds, and every eye shall see him, and they also which pierced him, and all kindreds of the earth shall wail because of him. Even so, Amen. And that's Revelation 1:7, right? And so we're going to get into it now. And so what we're going to do is get started. I'm going to turn, after I briefly warm up my hands, I'm going to turn and face the east. When the sun called the Pa'arath, Hawad wa Haloyim Rabatum Yatla, Allah Yanawa, Yahweh, Bahashim Yahweh Shabbat, Racha HaKodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Much peace, love, respect to the brothers teaching and pushing this truth out the four corners of the earth. To the hopeful elect, the 144,000 and the 1/3, as well as the rest of the elect, scattered abroad amongst the heathen nations to the four corners of the earth, east, north, south, and west. To you, I say, Shalom. This is your brother Ra'aib Tazadakwa coming back at you again, all through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai. For as it is written, not by power nor by might, but by my spirit, saith Adonai, the Lord, Yahweh, in the name of, Bahashim, in the name of Yahweh Shai, his only begotten son. All right, Yahweh Razah, Yahweh willing, this lesson is going to be edifying and encouraging to you, Achim, brothers, and any Achwa, sisters that may be listening and or watching. And I'm going to go ahead and greet you, brothers, and any sisters that's on the comment board right now. I want to say shalom to the brother Hanaya, Yahweh Shemashah Brakatah to you, Malak. Glad you could join us, Lord willing. You are edified. Shalom to the brother La'ab Wathan, Yahweh Shemashah Brakatah to you as well, Malak. Glad you could join us, Lord willing. You are edified. And shalom to the brother Ariel Yasha'Allah 77, Yahweh Shemashah Brakatah to you, Malak. Glad you can join us, Lord willing. You are edified as well. And finally, last but not least, shalom to the young Shah, the young prince, the young Malak. Yasha'Allah 1444, Yahweh Shemashah Brakatah to you as well, young Shah, young prince, young Malak. Glad you can join us, Lord willing. You are edified. All right. And so, yeah. So let's dig into this Revelation 1 and 7, but we're gonna put with it a couple of precepts first. Let's go to we're gonna come back to this wisdom of Solomon. Let's go to Matthew 24, and let's get 29, 30, and 31, okay? Because we all agree that Yahweh Shai is coming back, but when? Well, we already dealt with that one, right? He's coming back soon, but not only soon, much sooner than you think. So now let's move on. When he comes back, who is he going to? What's going to be his disposition? What's he coming back to do? All right, okay? I am come to send fire on the earth. And what will I if it be already kindled? What's that? Luke 12. It might be 12 or it might be 21. Let's touch on that real quick. Okay? So whatever he's coming back to do, he ain't coming back to do nothing nice, except for the elect. We're going to get that too. Because he's actually coming back to do 2 things immediately, 3 things total. Okay? Subject to the, not subject, according to the scriptures. I think that's Luke 12 and like, it might be 21. And like 40, yep, Luke 12 and 49. Luke 12 and 49. Shalom to the Achwath, Elisha, Slagia sisters. That's for the brothers, right? Shalom to the Achwath, Elisha Swain, Yahweh Shemashah Brakatah to you as well. Yeah, to you as well, Achwath. And the members of the hopeful elect in your household as well. Yahweh Shemashah Barakatham to you all, okay? Glad you could join in. Lord willing, you are edified as well. And, you know, I know sometimes you're in attendance, Akwath. Just try to let me know that as early as possible. I did respond to your message. Try to let me know that as early as possible so that if you are coming, I could be at the other location, which makes it easy for you, okay? All right, but yeah, glad you could join in. Lord willing, you're edified. You and the members of the hopeful elect in your household, okay? What was I getting ready to get? I was getting ready to get something, and now I forgot. Oh, yeah, that Luke. Here it is, Luke 12 and 49. I am come to send fire on the earth. Okay, so when he comes, he's coming to send fire. Okay, whether he's coming in like 2 parts or 1 part. Okay, one of those at least. If it is 2, it's not. But you know how I preach, right? He's only coming once, man. There ain't no 2 parts to it. And when he comes, one of the things he's going to do is come to send fire on this earth. That gets into one of the 2 things he's going to do immediately, which is bring destruction to the the kingdoms of the heathen. And that right there should tell you that the heathen ain't getting no salvation. And that ties right into the Revelation 1 and 7. But then he's coming to do another thing, which we're going to get in a second. I already told you, I am come to send fire on the earth. And what will I if it be already kindled? Why does he say that? Why does Yahweh Shai say that? Okay? And I remember when I was in pagan Christianity, I remember, I used to, I was always hungry, man, hungry for learning more, knowing more, and I wouldn't get no answers in pagan Christianity. But, I would peruse their books. And I remember seeing a very interestingly titled book once when I was in pagan Christianity. This was years ago. Might have been like 20 years ago. And I remember seeing like a very interestingly titled book. And the title of the book was The Difficult Sayings of, quote unquote, Jesus, right? Yahweh Shai. Well, let them have their Jesus, because that's their Jesus. Jesus is not Yahweh Shai. So we can go with Jesus for that. Because when we say Jesus, that ain't Yahweh Shai. Okay? I told you, Jesus is Tammuz. I already told you that. And if you didn't hear that, back it up to the beginning. Okay? All right? So they said the difficult, they're referring to it as, and all that, but the difficult sayings of Jesus, right? And why to pagan Christians, why are the sayings of Yahweh Shai difficult? Because they ain't got no understanding. And because who they're really truly worshiping, when you pull back the veil, it's not the true God of the Bible, nor is it his true only begotten Son. It's a bait and switch. It is a bait and switch. All right? You can believe that or you cannot. But either way you do it, whether you believe it or not, it's still the truth, the pure, unadulterated truth. And I had to come to terms with that. I had to grasp that because I was asleep in pagan Christianity for decades, and I took my slumber seriously, man. I love my sleep, right? In other words, hey, I was all in with pagan Christianity, right? Now, I could always do more, but I was all in with pagan Christianity. And so when I heard this truth right here, that was hard for me. Not hard because I couldn't see that it was the truth, because everything was coming from the scriptures. And I saw the flaws with pagan Christianity, a lot of inconsistencies, a lot of wickedness, a lot of just confusion, right? So that kind of made me ready for the truth when it came along, but it was hard because I had to accept, in accordance with Isaiah 30 and 20, that I was involved in idolatry, which my heart was never to do that. The creature was made subject to vanity unwillingly. I wasn't willing to do that, but it wasn't up to us. It wasn't up to you. It wasn't up to me. Okay? And there ye may, there ye might, there ye may opt to, if it's up to you. No, there you will serve gods of wood and stone. You are going to engage in idolatry. Okay? That's going back to the curse of Deuteronomy 28. Okay? So we didn't have the choice. The creature was made subject to vanity unwillingly. Right? But we didn't know. He's poured upon us the spirit of deep sleep, deep slumber, Isaiah 29, right? Okay? Poured upon us the spirit of deep sleep. So we was deeply asleep, drooling. Okay? And in our slumber, we're engaging in idolatry, and we don't know. So when we wake up to this truth, that's where Isaiah 30 comes into play, starting about the 20th verse. And we wake up and we go, ah! What is this idol doing in my hands? And we cast it over our shoulder and say, get thee hence. Isaiah 30, start about 20 and go on down. See, you got to understand this, right? So Yahweh Shai says here in Luke 12 and 49, I am come to send fire on the earth. And that's why the sayings are hard, because the sayings of Yahweh Shai, I suppose you could do it, but he is the truth. He is the word of God. He is the word of the Most High Yahweh. So it's like he speaks with such power and such force, and his words are so piercingly true, even when they're translated to this wicked English language that we speak. Okay? Even then, when some of the force of what he said is lost, it's still so piercingly true, right? That it's hard for them. Right? But that's because they don't got the truth. They don't understand. But see, what is he talking about here? I am come to send fire on the earth. What are you talking about? That's talking about, and this is a chapter we already got, which is Hosea, the 3rd chapter. That's talking about the fire, which is, this is the best way you can, it's going to cause fire, but the best way we can describe it, it refers to it in the book of Hosea, the 3rd chapter, as, if my memory serves you correctly, horns. But if you get in other translations, it's rays of light. Okay, and when you get it over into the second Ezra, the 13th chapter, I don't know what she said. She said something. When you get it over in the second Ezra, the 13th chapter, it talks about it there as well, which we've already got, and we're going to go back there. And when we go back there, we've been gone so long, we're going to get it again. Might even start from the top. I'll try not to, because we might take a long time on that. But it's also to the Spirit. But it's talking about what can best be described as superheated, concentrated fire coming from the chariots, okay, the vehicles of the fourth dimension, Marakabium. Marakab in the Hebrew, yum on the end makes it plural, masculine plural. Marakab yum. Marakab, chariot, that's the word typically used in the King James Version, chariot, right? But if the synonym today that we would use would be vehicle, okay? The vehicles of God, the vehicles of the Most High. These are all chariots right here, passing down, just running up and down on the road, to and fro on the road. These are all automobiles, vehicles, right? These are all Marakabium right here. You can see some right there, waiting for the light to turn. Those Marakab vehicles, that's what it means. Chariots, vehicles. In the Hebrew, Marakabium, okay? And so they're out of those chariots, what the world calls UFOs and UAPs. By the way, that's why the Department of Defense has established a new UFO UAP task force. And by the way, that's why you're hearing so much more legitimized mainstream discussing and talk of UFOs. 31 Atlas has been the latest one, right? Whether that's legit or not, doesn't really matter. That's the one they've been talking about lately. Okay? Why is that? Because they understand that not the weather balloons and not the this and the fake, but they understand that the ones that defy gravity, defy the laws of physics, the ones that come from outer space and down into our atmosphere and down in the water without changing speed at all, and then come back out of the water and zip up into space, up into outer space again, the ones that'll descend from a high altitude down to a low altitude, like instantaneously, and then take off like with immense acceleration that would turn any pilot to jello inside, because they can't, it would immediately turn anybody that was inside to jello. They understand that those are the vehicles of the spiritual realm. They understand that those are the vehicles, chariots of the Most High, the vehicles, the chariots of the fourth dimension, the spiritual realm. They understand that, right? And what Yahweh Shai is talking about here, I am come to send fire on the earth. What he's talking about is when he comes back on one of those massive chariots, okay? He's coming back on one of those massive chariots, and when he comes back, he's going to be given the command, and Hosea saw this. Hosea, the 3rd chapter, we already got that chapter a long time ago. When he comes back and he gives the command, all those chariots are going to be zapping various different places. Oh, and by the way, going back to the Acts 2, 18, 19, and 20, and Joel 2, 28, 29, and 30, which is the precept passage that's being quoted in Acts 2, dreams and visions. The young Shar, which is the son, Ban, of the Achwath Elisha Swain, that young Shar had a dream and vision, which kicked off this lesson series, which, by the way, I haven't played that in a while, so let me play it for you. Because this is the young Shar that had this dream and vision here, he saw a lot of that, and he told it in this dream, and this again is going to that Acts 2, 17, 18, and 19, which is a paraphrase of Joel 2, 28, 29, and 30, right? And he saw it, and I'm gonna let him tell it to you, because I haven't played in a while. Let me just pull it up. Where is it? There it is. Give me a second. I'm gonna play. I haven't played in a while, so it's time to play it now. Make sure I got the right ones. I think which one is first? I think it's this one first. All right. All right, I'm gonna turn this up, because this is what out of the young Shar, he's only like 6 years old. But out of the young Shar having this dream and vision, why is this not going up? Out of the young Shar having this dream and vision, this whole lesson series has come out of it. And his mother, the Ahwath that's on the comment board right now, she also had a dream and vision, which I've brought out multiple times in my live streams. I'm gonna mention that first, okay? Because she had a dream and vision where she prayed to the Most High Yahweh in the name of his only begotten son, Yahweh Shai's name, and she asked the Most High to show her whether or not what I had said about this whole land. I was talking to a fellow a descendant of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob who didn't know who he was, and I was telling him who he was. I was telling him what time it is, and I was telling him that he needs to seek repentance while the doors of repentance are open. And I told him, because I knew he's getting ready to leave, and I told him, look, you better hurry up, because this very ground that you're standing on, the very ground where your feet is at, is going to be engulfed in thermonuclear flames, this whole land, according to the scriptures. None of these are my words. I ain't making nothing up. I'm too scared to make anything up, right? It's going to be engulfed with thermonuclear fire. And I told him that, and the Aquaf knew that America was going to be destroyed by thermonuclear fire, but she didn't necessarily think that the whole land was going to be destroyed with thermonuclear fire, right? In other words, it was going to hit certain spots and it was going to destroy it, but it wasn't going to be everywhere, right? She didn't know if that was true or not. So she prayed to the Most High and asked the Most High to show her. And that very night, the Aquaf, she prayed right before she went to sleep. And then the Aquaf went to bed and she had a dream where the Most High showed her the very spot where I preach. I don't preach there often anymore, but in downtown, that very spot where the Chase Manhattan building is, it's just called a Chase building, and the Most High showed her that very spot, and off in the distance, over the corner of the Chase building, was a massive thermonuclear mushroom cloud. And she said that where she was, where I preached, I wasn't there in her dream, but where I was, where I preached, things started to catch on fire, and off in the distance was that massive thermonuclear mushroom cloud, okay? And then she had the exact same dream the very next night, carbon copy for confirmation. But this is the dream that, again, Acts 2, 18, 19, 17, 18, 19, Joel 2, 28, 29, 30, okay? You believe the scriptures, don't you? Okay, but this is the dream that the young Shah had about what Yahushua is going to be doing. Now, he didn't actually see Yahushua, but he saw a lot.
What was your dream, King?
I saw the world getting destroyed, where buildings were falling down, and everything was like getting destroyed. Like the bridge was falling down, the red bridge was falling down, the buildings were falling down. Everything was going nuclear, like a nuclear bomb. And then more buildings started falling down, more cities started blowing up, and yeah, and then I got picked up by those chariots, and I never came down, back down.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so he saw his deliverance and salvation, but he had told me about it initially. That's a beautiful vision. And he had told me about it initially, but then when he made that record, I wanted the recording so I could feature it. And when I got the recording, he left off one of the main parts. So I asked his mother to have him do it again and make sure that other part was included. And I'm gonna play that for you now.
About your dream that you were talking about how the buildings were falling down, the golden woods were falling down. I got picked up by one of the chariots, and then the lasers from the chariots was destroying the Statue of Liberty. And then everything was getting blown up like it was going nuclear. Everything.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and so that time he included it, the lasers from the chariots. Well, that's the best way you can describe it. Only way you can maybe describe it a little bit better is superheated concentrated fire. But the lasers or superheated concentrated fire from the chariots was destroying the Statue of Liberty. It's going to be destroying a lot more than that. That's what Yahushua is talking about when he says in Luke 12 and 49, I am come to send fire on the earth, meaning he's coming. Obviously, he ain't sent no fire back then. I am come to send fire on the earth. That's what he's talking about. And what will I, if it be already kindled? What about that? Okay, that's why I'm telling you, in accordance with the title, Yahushua is coming to bring unimaginable death and destruction. Now we're answering the questions, see? That's why I like to ask those questions. Yeah, okay, yeah, what you guys say? This is the answer, according to the scriptures. And this is coming straight out of Yahushua's mouth. So what about this part? What will I if it be already kindled? Because when he gets here, it's already going to be on fire, baby. Why is it going to be on fire? Well, there's a metaphoric fire here, but he's really talking about the literal fire of the thermonuclear destruction, okay, which is how the third woe of Revelation 11 and 14, make sure you get Revelation 9 and 12 first, get the 9 and 12 first, then go a couple of chapters to the right, you get the Revelation 11, 14, behold, the second woe is past, and the third woe cometh quickly, and simultaneous with the climax, the culmination, All right, the climax, the end of the third woe, the end of the Third World War, because that's what it's talking about. That's why it's 3 of them. Yeah, what a coincidence. Yes, that's because that's what it's talking about. Simultaneous with the end of the Third World War, which will end by all-out thermonuclear war, all the missiles flying. The book of Jeremiah, shoot at her. Her is America, Babylon the Great. Spare no arrows. The arrows is a metaphor for the thermonuclear missiles, the warheads. No matter what type of transport vehicle, whether it's a hypersonic, whether it's a short-range ballistic, intermediate-range ballistic, or the long ones, all right, which is the ICBMs, or whether it's a hypersonic, or what, or whether it's drop. They ain't gonna be dropping them over here from the airplanes, I don't think, right? Okay, it's gonna be all missiles, right? But that's what the arrows are. Shoot at her, spare no arrows. In other words, shoot all the missiles with the warheads, all of them. That's how it's going to end. And simultaneous with those missiles flying in the air, Yahweh Shai is coming back simultaneous with that. That's why it is written also in the scriptures, yet shall the righteous scarcely be saved in the nick of time. Okay? Coming together? I hope so. Okay? See, you put all this together, right? And that's what you're going to get from the true prophets, the true men of the Lord who are occupied in prophecy. Okay? All right? For the testimony of Yahweh Shai, the stamp of approval. I am Yahweh Shai and I approve this message. Well, how do you know? It's a spirit of prophecy. Okay? The true men of the Lord are occupied in prophecy. Okay? That's how you know. Okay? Pastor Porkchop is not occupied in prophecy. Bishop Bacon is not occupied in prophecy. The prosperity pimp, he's not occupied in prophecy. All right? All these other fake, phony, false, so-called anointeds, Mashiachim, Christ, they're not occupied in prophecy. Okay, and then you got the false ones, which they may give the appearance, but that's why you got to make sure that you can distinguish between him that serveth the Most High, Yahweh is his true name, and him that serveth him not, in the name of his only begotten Son, Yahweh Shai, right? You got to make sure you can tell the difference between who's truly serving Yahweh in the name of Yahweh Shai and who's not. And the scripture tells you how to do that. I'm not going to get off into that tangent right now. Okay, but that's what it's talking about. Okay. I am come to send fire on the earth, and what will have be already kindled. Now we got the understanding on that. Isn't that beautiful? Don't you love to have the understanding? I know I do. I know I do. I like the understanding, man. I don't like to be looking at the scriptures and it's kind of like staring at it like, oh, wonder what that means. Looking around, acting like you know what it means, and nobody knows what it means. Everybody looking at each other. Some think they know what it means. Some are just confused as a doorknob. So others are just wondering. They would like to know what it means, but they're too embarrassed to ask. You know how it is when you're in class. You know how it is when you're in class, right? You got a question, but you don't want to ask because you don't want to look stupid. You think everybody else knows, but really, it's like a lot of people that don't understand, and nobody's got the guts to ask. Everybody's just waiting for somebody else to ask who has more guts than they got so that they can learn, right? They can ride on their coattails, right? See, so don't be like that with the scriptures, man. Wisdom is the principal thing. Get thee therefore wisdom, and then all I get and get understanding, man. I want that understanding, okay? And I just gave you. That's the understanding of Luke 12:49 and all the other precepts that I brought out with it. So now, let's get Wisdom of Solomon 5, and I already showed you that it's in the scriptures, and I already gave you a lot of ways you can know that the Apocrypha is scripture. And if you just jumping on later and you don't know that the Apocrypha is scripture, you need to go back to the beginning and watch from the beginning, because I ran through a short little mini lessonette on the history of the scriptures with regards to the Apocrypha, and proved in multiple ways that the Apocrypha is scripture. One of the ways is I showed that it's right here in this Bible, which is the 1611 King James Version Holy Bible. 1611 King James Version, as it was originally printed and as it remained for 274 years. Look, I just did a little review. If you want more, go back and listen to it from the beginning. So I'm reading from the Apocrypha, which is Wisdom of Solomon 5 and 1. Okay? And we're going to put this with all the other stuff because we're answering the questions, all right? We already dealt with the question, when is he coming? And the answer was soon, but not only soon, much sooner than you think. Yeah, I got to drive that home. Much sooner than you think. Yeah, I know he's coming back soon. He's coming back soon. Most people that say that, they don't really believe that. Most people that say that, they mean like soon, like it's like soon is always at a certain set distance. They may think he's coming back in 3 years, but then 3 years later, they still think he's coming back. And, this is just, nobody's setting a date or anything like that. But let's just say they feel like, I think he might come back in 3 years. That 3 years is always out 3 years. No matter how much time passes, it's always 3 years out in the future. In other words, they don't really believe that. They don't really believe that. See, that's why I gotta say, okay, yeah, you got it that he's coming back soon, but he's coming back much sooner than you think. So do you know when, Rahab? No man knows the day or the hour. But we are commanded to know when it's close, and we know that the closer we get to the end, the Most High is speeding up the time, Matthew 24, 21, and 22, and we know that the closer we get to the end, the faster things are gonna go. And we're commanded to measure the time diligently. We're probably going to get that since we're going to 2nd Ezra 9. We'll probably get that when we get there. Okay? Measure the time diligently in and of itself. Okay? And so we know as we measure the time, we see the prophecies being fulfilled, and we look at what's coming next according to the biblical prophetic timetable. We know that it's like real super close. Okay? There was a day that was the last day of the flood. I mean, do I have to make these obvious statements? There was a day that was the last day before the flood. So that's the first death. There's a last day coming before the second death. Okay, which is this thermonuclear destruction I just told you about. Okay? It's much sooner than you think. So we dealt with that. Now we're getting into Salakia. Salak means forgive, by the way. Yah is me. Okay, forgive me, right? So now we get into these other two questions. That question's done. We're getting into these other two questions, which is, how is he coming back? What mood is he going to be in? What's he going to be doing? And we're answering that. And is there a second coming? Is there a second coming, an initial installment, and then a second coming, the second and final installment? Is it two parts, or is it all in one part? And the answer is it's all in one part. Okay? But we're going to get the precepts to make this plain, line upon line, precept upon precept, here a little and there a little. Through thy precepts I get understanding, therefore I hate every false way. So now let's get this Wisdom of Solomon 5:1, because we're putting it all together to get that understanding. Then shall the righteous man, I'm righteous. Are you an Israelite man? Because it's really talking about the Israelite man, but not on a broad baseline level sense. It is all Israelite men, but not right now. It's talking about the elect Israelite man right now. Those that have been called and chosen. Because look, when it says called, that's telling you not everybody was called. Called out of who? Called out of what? Called out of the earth? Called out of all nations? No. Called out of what nation? You know, man, come on. Israel. Okay, so called out of Israel. Okay, so we're all called out of Israel? No. Okay, so now that you already know that it's not the whole nation of Israel. All right? Many are called, but few are chosen. Okay, so it's not enough to be just called. Right. You got to be called in. What is that again? Chosen. Another word for chosen, elected. So the righteous man here on the highest level is the elect Israelite man, the man of the nation of Israel that is called and chosen, which would be the 144,000, the prophets. Revelation 7, started 1, read down, 12,000 out of each tribe. That is literal. It's not it says that, but it's metaphorically talking about that, so it's really, what? No, okay? You butchering the scriptures. Put the book down, okay? Okay? And then you go over to Revelation 14, talks about the 144,000 there again. Well, who are the 144,000? The prophets, okay? All the prophets that you read about, okay, Jeremiah, Isaiah, Habakkuk, Obadiah, so on and so forth, they're all members, the 12 disciples, they're all, the Apostle Paul, they're all members of the 144,000. Okay, because it's not, remember during the time of Elijah, the Most High told Elijah he's reserved unto him 7,000, not literally 7. That 7 means a perfect and complete number. Okay, he had thousands of prophets reserved unto him. Those prophets were all members of the 144,000. Okay, so that's the righteous men and the friends of the prophets, those that hearken into their message and then come alongside the prophets to aid them, to help them, and are the friends to them. Those men too. Right? Ultimately in the kingdom of heaven, the whole nation shall be made righteous. You got a lot of places you can go. Isaiah 60, Isaiah 61, Ezekiel 36 comes to mind. All right? Jeremiah 30, is it 1 or 33? Hebrews 8. A lot of places. A lot more than that. That's just off the top of my head. All right? I'm not going there, or I'll be stuck on that. Okay? So now, let's continue on. Then shall the righteous man, now you know who that's talking about, stand in great boldness, happening right now. Yehovah, you got one example here in front of you. Okay? Many examples all around. Okay? Many of my brothers on the comment board doing the same. Okay? Before the face of such as have afflicted him. Who's that talking about? Okay? Well, that would be our evil, wicked twin brother. Your evil, wicked twin brother. I didn't know you had a twin, Rod. Well, go to Romans the 9th chapter, right? And what does it tell you? Okay? Two nations, which is talking about Genesis the 25th chapter. Genesis the 25th chapter. 21, 22, 23, thereabouts. Yo, Rebecca, why is this going on? What's all this tumult in my womb? Yahweh, she got the answer from Yahweh through a prophet. Two nations are in thy womb, and two manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels. That's unusual. That doesn't happen unless the Most High makes it happen. Because typically, you're going to have the same people, the same nation in the womb, even if it's twins, because that's the way it works. Okay? Bloodlines, nations are bloodlines. But the Most High, being that he's the Most High and he can do whatever he wants, he separated seed there and had two different nations come through one lump. Go back to Romans 9, makes it plain. Of the same lump, two vessels, one unto honor, one unto dishonor. You should be figuring it out now, okay? The one unto honor is Jacob. Name later changed to what? Israel, okay? The whole nation, not just him, all that come from his loins. And then the vessel unto dishonor is Esau. All right? Thus dwelt Esau in Mount Seir, Genesis 36 and 8. Esau is, what's is? Take is out and put it as an equal sign. Because in mathematical terms, is an equal sign. Thus dwelt Esau in Mount Seir. Esau equals Edom. Okay? That's our evil, wicked twin brother. The Edomites, the biblical Edomites, who are in authority, who are in power, okay, for Jacob, for Esau is the end of the world, the end of the age, meaning he's in power at the end of the age, right before Yahweh returns, rising from the east with healing in his wings for the elected nation of Israel, right before he comes back. Esau is the top man on the planet. The biblical Edomites, the descendants by bloodline of Esau, they are the top man on the planet. And who's that exactly? Well, come on, man, don't you know? But generally speaking, you can't go off of this entirely because you can mix genetics and you can have people of any nation look like anything. But generally speaking, what they generally look like, which is their biblical description, that's the way they're typically going to look. That's the way that they're created to look. I don't say created, made to look by the Heavenly Father. Genesis 25 and 25. The first came out red all over like a hairy garment. Why was he red? Because he had no melanin in his skin and his blood showed forth through his skin. Okay? Just like today, so-called white people. Okay? They don't have melanin in their skin. They're always trying to tan and get, whatnot. Okay? Because they don't have and so what happens if you don't have melanin in your skin? Well, you can see the blood show forth through your skin. And they're different shades of red. They call themselves white, but they're different shades of red. Okay? And it changes depending on how embarrassed they are or whatnot, or how hard they're working out or whatnot, or how hot they are or whatnot. Okay? That's the way the Most High set them up to look in this time for various different reasons. So I'm not going to get into it, but that's who the Edomites are today. Generally speaking, because you do have some so-called white people that are not Edomites. And you do have some Edomites that don't look like that. But that is the way the Most High set it up for them to look, and generally speaking, that is what they look like. Okay? But as you've been watching me for a while, you will know that there's been a number of times when so-called white men have come up here and I've engaged with them and I've read their spirits, because that's what we do. We discern spirits. And I've perceived that it's a strong possibility that this so-called white man is no Edomite. That I perceive that they're actually a descendant of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Okay? Bloodlines are always pure, but their genetics have been mixed with the other nations, specifically the nation of Esau, Edom. So over time, over a number of generations, they have started to look like Edomites, even though they're actually Israelites. And my manner of interaction with that so-called white man that I perceive is probably an Israelite is totally different. Because this is not about skin. Although skin color is a generality, it is really, truly about bloodlines, right? But skin color is a generality. This is typically what Israelites are going to look like. There's variations, some darker, some lighter, right? And then you got the Northern Kingdom, which typically in this time looks like so-called blacks and the so-called Latinos, Hispanics, Native Americans, and Seminole Indians. But you got Israelites looking like all the nations that were scattered amongst. Okay? So, you know, just bringing this out as I read through it. Okay? So Wisdom of Solomon 5. Then shall the righteous man, now you know who that is, stand in great boldness before the face of such as have afflicted him, our evil wicked twin brother Esau Edom, who has put more hell on us than any of the other nations, which they all have put hell on us. They all have profited from our downfall. They all have been complicit, right? Guilty by association and participation, and guilty by benefit, okay? Who has not profited? Which of the nations have not profited from our downfall and our calamity? First Maccabees 2 and 10. That's a paraphrase, right? But the ringleader is our evil, wicked twin brother Esau, the biblical Edomites. We are the well, you don't need to say biblical. We are the Israelites, but our evil, wicked twin brother, the Edomites, which no, they're not done away with. Biblical prophecy tells you that they have to be here when Yahushua returns. For Esau is the end of the world, the end of the age. How are they going to be not here? And Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. 2 Ezra 6, verses 7, 8, and 9. Okay? So what's the age or the kingdom, the world, the age, the kingdom that's coming next? Well, that's the kingdom of heaven. Well, Jacob is the beginning of that, meaning we're going to be on the top of the kingdom of heaven. And that is a world, an age, an eon without end. Never going to end. And of his kingdom, there shall be no end. Yahushua Mashiach, who is the King of Kings. What kings is he the kings of? Well, the Israelite men. Okay? Because all the Israelite men, we're a nation of kings and priests, starting with the elect, the 144,000, which will be immediately under Yahushua. His governing, his cabinet, so to speak. Okay? His cabinet, so to speak. You know, like Trump has a cabinet. Okay? Those that are going to rule and reign with him, that are joint heirs. But the whole nation ultimately is going to be a nation of kings and priests. Okay? So we got to get all the goodie out of these scriptures, man. Hey, these scriptures are inexhaustible. These scriptures are unsearchable, unfathomable. So we read it, we got to get it. Okay? All right. Then shall the righteous man stand in great boldness. Now we're getting all this understanding before the face of such as have afflicted him. Okay, we got all that now. Now we understand what this is talking about. And made no account of his labors. That should be pretty obvious. Okay? I mean, how many things here, the vast majority, if not all, of these inventions, especially during the time we were in slavery, were made by so-called black men, Israelite men, and they were patented and taken, and credit was, they were patented, and credit for them was taken by our slave masters. And this information is out there. It's not even a secret. Okay, it's not publicized, but it's not a secret. The information is out there. TikTok, YouTube, people do videos about it all over the time, all over the place, all the time. But that's what that's talking about. Okay? Okay, now let's go to verse 2, because this is going to get back into what we're trying to find out. Okay? When they see it. Okay? When they see it. Okay? When they see what? The poor righteous man. Okay, again, one example standing right here in front of you. Stand in great boldness. Bless the Lord, the poor in spirit, right? Stand in great boldness before the face of such as has afflicted him. So you get an example of that right here. And when they see it, this ties into Revelation 11, okay? And the spirit of life stood upon them, and they stood upon their feet. And great fear, Revelation 11 chapter, fell upon them that saw it. Great fear. And look, the knees of the elite. The elite of Esau Edom that run this country, that run this world, the elites, they're pissing their bed, man. They're pissing their pants, man. Their knees are knocking. They're losing sleep. Okay? The scriptures don't lie. Okay? Hey, most of the Edomites and these other nations, really we mostly getting on Esau, but all the nations going to get in the kingdom to varying degrees. Not as bad as Esau Edom though. Okay? So, but these average Edomites around here going to and fro, right? They don't necessarily know it. They may feel a little something in their spirit. A lot of times they do, but they don't really know what time it really is, right? But the elites, they know. They know who we are. And that's why they have done what they've done to us. And that's why they flood our communities and set snares and traps for our people to keep us in wickedness, which separates us from our Father, Yahweh, and keeps us at the end of his wrath. That's all intentional. Okay? When they see it, They shall be troubled with terrible fear. I'm just reading the scriptures. I'm not embellishing. Okay? And shall be amazed. This is what we came for, though. And shall be amazed at the strangeness, the amazement, man. It's like whatever's coming next is going to be so, it's going to be beyond the wildest, most crazy sci-fi movie you've ever imagined. Not saw, imagine. It's going to be beyond that. And shall be amazed at the strangeness of his, what's strange, Rahab? Salvation. When we get our deliverance and salvation, it is going to be so strange, so amazing, so mind-blowing, so far out. So it's going to be out of this world, literally for us, right? Although we're coming back, okay? Because the kingdom of heaven is going to be established here, which that's the third thing Yahweh Shah is coming to do, establish the kingdom of heaven, okay? Okay? So, but when he comes back, and the manner in which he's going to be doing all the things he's going to be doing, and he delivers the elect, which we're going to get in second in Matthew 24, it's going to be so strange, okay? Beyond, let's finish reading it. Let's start from the top. When they see it, they shall be troubled with terrible fear, which is already started, and shall be amazed. Hey, as they say, ignorance is bliss, right? So most of the Edomites, they don't really know that. So they going along in their blissfulness. But when that blissful time, it's not true bliss. It's just ignorance, right? and just because they're ignorant, they're blissfully ignorant of what time this is and what's about to happen to them, that doesn't stop it from happening. And that blissful bubble is going to be popped by Yahweh Shah. And shall be amazed at the strangeness of his salvation. Why? What's so strange about it? Let me finish the verse. So far. Not just beyond, because that's the next word. Not just beyond. Not just more than. Not just beyond. So far beyond. Not just a little beyond. It's like, oh, your imagination just barely missed what it was going to be. You was reaching for it with your imagination. You gave everything you got. You just missed it. If you could imagine just a little bit more, you'd have got it. No, so far beyond. What's the next word? All that they look for. See? So far beyond all that they look for. That's our salvation. That's our salvation. Okay? All right? It is so far beyond all that they look for. So they're going to be amazed at it. Now, can they be amazed at it if they don't see it? Let me see you be amazed at something you never see. No, they're going to see it. They're going to see our salvation. Important key point. Keep that in mind. Now, let's go back to let's get to Matthew 24 now. Let's get to Matthew 24. I want to go back to the Revelation. No. Let's just wrap this up, and then we'll clean up with the Matthew 24. How much time we got? Okay, we'll clean up with the Matthew 24. Let me see. Okay. Yeah, Yahweh Razah, this is edifying. This is encouraging for you brothers, man. All right. This is whew. Man, we love these scriptures, and we love Yahweh Yahweh Shah. We love this truth. We love delight thyself in Yahweh, and he shall give you the desires of the heart. We delight ourselves in our Father Yahweh. We delight ourselves in his Son. We delight ourselves in his truth. And this is our everything. And then some. So Revelation 1:7. I said this is our everything and then some. This is our everything and everything else. Okay? Hopefully I stressed that point adequately. Revelation 1:7. So now we bring that, because what we found out is that the nations, the Edomites and everybody is going to see our deliverance and salvation, and their jaws are going to be permanently on the floor until they're melted with the thermonuclear destruction. Okay? So now we've established that the nations are going to see our deliverance and salvation. Okay? And I already told you, and we've got those precepts. Revelation 19 is already getting it. Another thing Yahweh Shah is coming to do is to bring death and destruction to these heathen nations. So I wonder if they're going to notice that. Obviously, they're going to notice that. The only other thing he's coming to do immediately is deliver the elect, which we're going to read about in a second. So if they're going to see us get salvation, and they're obviously going to see their asses getting destroyed, well then, obviously, he's only coming back once. See how we just answered that question by reading with distinction? He's only coming back once. And we answered the other question too, what manner of return is it going to be? It's going to be he's going to be in a very, very angry mood. As it says, he shall cry as a woman in travail. And he's not going to meet them as a man. Okay? In other words, he came 2,000 years ago and he met the heathen. He met the Romans, all right, which were the biblical nation of Esau, Edom. He met them as a man. What exactly does it mean? What exactly does it mean for him to meet them as a man? It means that they can injure him. They can take him by force. You know, assuming he doesn't use his power, because he did have angelic power. But outside of that, he has a body of a regular mortal man that can be injured, that can be even killed. And that's what they did to him. Why? Because he came as a man to fulfill the will of his father Yahweh for the sake of the whole nation of Israel, starting with the elect. He ain't coming like that this time. That's what he means when he said, for I will not meet thee as a man. He's coming back in all of his angelic power. Okay? You ain't going to be able to do jack shit to Yahweh Shai when he comes back. He's not coming back in a flesh and blood body like this. Okay? He's coming back in all of his angelic power. Okay? With his glorified body. Okay? That's what he means when he said, for I will not meet thee as a man. Okay? Not this time. Okay? But they're going to fight him. And we're reading about that in 2 Esdras 13 and Revelation 19. But it's going to be a slaughter. Okay? One angel can destroy this whole earth. Right? Let alone the angel of Yahweh, which is the only begotten Son, Yahweh Shai, with all power given unto him in heaven and in earth, with power like the Father, less than the Father, second to the Father, but power like the Father's power. Okay? All right? So now, let's put that, so now we know, let's drive it home, because he's only coming back for the second return is only one time. It's not no two parts like the pagan Christians tell you. Okay, he's gonna come back and he's gonna sneak through he's gonna tiptoe through the clouds, sneak through the clouds, and say, hey, you come up here. Psst, you too, bring a friend. Right? No. No, that's why I have fun with it. Okay? They're gonna see it, the nations are gonna see it, and they're gonna be amazed at the strangeness of our salvation. Right? And they're also gonna see it when he's bringing the death and destruction on them, and he's waging war on them in righteousness. They're going to notice that too. I don't think they're going to miss that. What do you think? Revelation 1 and 7. So now this is what this means. Behold, he, Yahweh Shai, cometh with clouds. That's not talking about literal clouds. That's a metaphor for what the world calls UFOs and UAPs. That's a metaphor for the chariots. We already talked about this. That's a metaphor for the vehicles of the fourth dimension, which is the spiritual realm. Okay? That's talking about what the world calls UFOs and UAPs. All right, they're coming back in chariots, baby. And every eye shall see him. Boom. So it's clear. He's only coming. The second return is in one installment. There's not two installments to it. Okay? The pagan Christianity is a lie, man. Everything about it. Even the things they say that's right. A broke clock is right twice a day. Does it make it right? No, it's still wrong. And it happens to be 6:30. What time does the broke clock say? It says 6:30. So does that mean it's right? No. Okay? It's still wrong. Even though it's showing you the right time, it's still wrong. Because it's broke. That's pagan Christianity. Behold, he cometh with clouds, and every eye shall see him, and they also which pierced him. We want to get the understanding right. They also which pierced him. They're going to see him too. Who pierced him? The Roman soldiers. They're going to see him when he returns? Yes. How is that? Well, see, Satan's going to open up the bleachers from down there. I mean, Satan's going to say, hey, you know, recess from your torment. Everybody load up in the bleachers. Yahweh Shai's coming back. And then he's going to open the canopy of hell. He's going to open the canopy of hell. And all right, slushies and popcorn and hot dogs for everybody. Let's watch Yahweh Shai come back. Hey, you two that pierced Yahweh Shai or whoever many it was, y'all make sure y'all get up here front seat for you. No, man. Besides, there's no such place. That place doesn't exist. Hell is literally the grave, the ground, the earth. And the only other understanding of hell you're going to find in the scriptures is metaphoric hell, metaphorically the grave, which is a very low and miserable condition. That's the true understanding. Okay? And if you need that understanding, then search my page or search other brothers' page that teach this gospel of the kingdom, the truth, right? The true gospel of the kingdom, and get the understanding on that. I've done lesson series, and I mention it from time to time. But I just gave you the understanding in a nutshell, right? Okay? A couple of precepts that'll help you out. Jonah, the 2nd chapter, verses 1 and 2, out of the belly of hell, cried I. Well, the belly of hell, maybe, stop it. Okay? It tells you right there that Jonah was in the fish's belly. And he called the fish's belly the belly of hell. He was in the belly of the fish, and he called it hell. Because again, that's the metaphoric grave, a very low and miserable condition. Though they dig down into hell, yet will I find them or pull them out. Okay, what hell is that talking about? Well, that's the literal hell, which is the earth, the ground. So though they dig into the ground, though they dig into the earth, though they dig into hell, yet from thence will I pull them out. Okay, when somebody's building an underground bunker, they dig into hell and they put the bunker in hell, which is the ground, which is the earth. The Hebrew word is shaba'al. Okay, and by the way, it's been translated to grave equal to the number of times it's been translated to hell. I think it's 31 times translated to grave, 31 times translated to hell, and they put the grave first, hell second. And fittingly, because grave is really what it's talking about, whether literally or metaphorically. And I gave it to you. All right, now, okay? Every eye shall see him, and they also which pierce him. Reincarnation is biblical. Matthew the 11th chapter, verses 13, 14, and 15. Not like the pagans say it, where you come back as a cat or a dog or a monkey. No, that is a true doctrine perverted by the heathen. Okay, not like that. If you're a man, you always come back as a man. If you're a woman, you always come back as a woman. If you're of a particular nation, you always come back as in that nation. You don't change nations. You don't change sex. Okay? Every 3rd and 4th generation. This is a deeper doctrine that I'm not going to get into right now, but there it is. That's how they're going to see him. The very Roman soldiers that pierced Yahweh Shai are here on the earth today, living in new bodies. Matthew the 11th chapter, verses 13, 14, and 15. And if you can receive it, this, John the Baptist, equals Elias, which was to come, prophesied to come. Would you say that again? A little slower for me, Yahweh Shai? John the Baptist is Elijah the prophet. And when you read it in the NLT, it puts it that plain. I mean, it's pretty plain in the KJV. And it was prophesied to come. Go to Malachi, the 4th chapter. Let's read that real quick for any that need it. Let's go to Malachi, because this is the prophecy that Yahweh Shai was talking about. And once you see this, then you can see reincarnation everywhere. Because it's all throughout the scriptures. But you got to see it first. The world tells you many lies. And one of the lies that the world tells you is that believing is seeing. Okay? No, believing is not seeing. Seeing is believing. Okay? And that should be easier for you to understand and receive in this day than any other time. Because now we're living in a time where any lie can be put right in front of your eyes and made to look real. AI can generate life you can, look, man. Bruh. The AI that they show you is like pathetic compared to the AI that they really have that they haven't showed you. Okay? All right? I had to tell you that. I did. Okay? So whatever they show you, they got leaps and bounds technology beyond that. Come on, man. Okay? Okay, so if they're already showing you that AI is pretty much able to generate video, let alone pictures, but video that is damn near indistinguishable from real life, they're not telling you they've already had it for a long time. Because now it's to the point where it don't matter. Just show the dummies. You can show the dummies now, it don't matter anymore. Because what we got is so far beyond that. Okay? All right? So you can't believe what you see, right? Because they can make something and give you something to see so that you believe a lie. They can even make lifelike robots that look pretty much like real people and have AI in it, and it'll talk and move like real people. Okay? So you can't just believe what you see. So no, seeing is not believing, believing is seeing. Okay? This is what Yahushua was talking about when he said which was prophesied to come. Malachi 4 and 5. Behold, I will send you Elijah the prophet before the coming of the great and dreadful. No, wait a minute, Rob. I think you missed a few words. I think it said one like the Elijah prophet. No. Let me check. Let me see. Behold, I will send you Elijah. No, there's no like there. But it means like one in the spirit of, right? No. Did Yahushua say that? Does it say it here? No. Actually, literally, Elijah the prophet. Okay, that same spirit, which was alive in that body, being referred to by the name of Elijah, that same spirit, that body died, and that spirit went up before the Father, and the Father sent that spirit back down to be born through Zacharias and Elizabeth, and given the name John, Yachanan. Okay, referred to as John the Baptist, the forerunner, the herald of Yahushua. Okay, but the same spirit that was in Elijah is the spirit that was in John the Baptist. And if you really want to understand it fully, that's the same spirit, because it can't be any other man. That was in the man by the name of Elder Bivens. Okay, back in the 60s and the 70s and the 80s. I think he died in the late 90s or the early 2000s. Okay, because he was beat to death by some wicked Israelites that were in the Nation of Islam when he was cutting them, telling them the scriptures and cutting them, and they got mad and beat him, right? So he was put to death when he was here as John the Baptist, and he was put to death when he was here as Elder Bivens, okay? But the Most High kicked off this truth that you hear being preached right now in your ears right now. The Most High kicked it off with that man, because when this prophecy here was fulfilled that we're reading about, this prophecy was fulfilled back then. But if you know anything about prophecies, prophecies are oftentimes cyclical. They'll be fulfilled in a certain period, and then a little bit later, they'll be fulfilled again to a greater degree, and then a little later, they're fulfilled again to a greater degree, and then ultimately, they're fulfilled in this time, the end, to the max level in their totality. So that prophecy was fulfilled back then. That's why Yahushua mentioned it, but it wasn't fulfilled completely. It was fulfilled completely in this time. Okay? So let's read this again. Behold, I will send you Elijah the prophet before the coming of the great and dreadful day of Yahweh. See, the kingdom of heaven was at hand back then, but did it come back then? No, because there was going to be a gap. There was going to be a break. And now the kingdom of heaven is at hand again in this time. And all that hearkened back then are hearkening now. Again, reincarnation is biblical. The same ones that hear this gospel now were the same ones that heard it back during the time of Yahushua and the disciples. Okay, moving on. But that's why it says here in Revelation 1 and 7, behold, he cometh with clouds, and every eye shall see him. No secret rapture. And they also which pierce him. Yeah, they're here again in new flesh. These Roman citizens, and if any of them happen to be Israelites working as Roman citizens in the Roman military, they're here as well. And they're probably in Esau's military. And they're probably having dreams and visions, and they don't know what it means, but they're waking up in a cold sweat. They're waking up with their heart racing. They're waking up in a puddle of sweat in their beds, and they're having dreams and visions of the death and destruction, because that's what's coming for them. Again, Acts 2, 17, 18, 19, Joel 2, 28, 29, and 30. I don't know that for sure, but that they probably are. Okay? Because when Yahushua comes and they see him, just like we just read, every eye shall see him, and they also which pierce him, they're going to see him. And when they see him, it's all going to come back to them, because they don't remember right now. As it is written, there is no remembrance of former things. None of us remember our former lives. But that's why you have deja vu. You're like, man, I feel like I've been here before, but I ain't never been here before. But I feel like I've been here before. Man, do I know you? I had a woman come up to me. I was doing some work. I was going around, and I stopped in a certain place, and I had a woman come up to me, and she said, "You look so familiar, and do I know you?" And I never seen this woman before in my life. She was just like, "You just so familiar," and I don't know you, do I? I was like, "No, I don't know you. I don't know you, and you don't know me." And the Spirit, usually I don't do this, but the Spirit prompted me, and I just said to her, I said, "Do you believe in reincarnation?" And she goes, and she basically says, "Yes," like, "Yes, I do." And I was like, we probably knew each other before in the past life. And it clicked for her. It clicked for her. And I believe that we did. All right? Now, in what capacity, I don't know. And I didn't recognize her spirit. Her spirit within her recognized my spirit, even though she didn't know who I was. I didn't really recognize her. I didn't recognize her. What I mean by that is, even though there is no remembrance of former things, there are shadows of it. There's like echoes, where it's like we don't really know what to make of, but we kind of sense a little something. We kind of feel a little something, but we don't know what to make of it. That's a shadow and an echo that'll still be there sometimes. And that's why certain people you meet, even though you never met them before, you can meet somebody and you can initially start clicking with them. And then certain people you meet and they ain't done nothing wrong to you, but you're like, I just don't trust them, man. I don't like something wrong. Something's off about this person. But you never met them, and they ain't never done nothing to you, and you don't have any. They've been nice. They've been nice. And that's because there's shadows and echoes. Like this, as it is written in the scriptures, trust no man against thy soul. Okay? Something went down before in a past life, and a shadow and an echo of that, the Most High allowed a shadow and an echo to remain in your spirit, but that's all. And that's why you just don't trust them. Trust no man against thy soul, right? And so when they see Yahushua, it's all gonna come back to him right before he deals with them. He's gonna deal with them. He's gonna get that retribution on him. And he that's why he says, he's gonna cry like a woman in travail. In other words, a blood curdling cry. Really, it's being compared to a woman in travail, like a woman will cry or scream or shriek or howl when she's giving birth. But that's because that's coming from the depths of her spirit. But really, it's going to be like that, but it's going to be the masculine version, which the best description for that is a war cry. It's going to be a war cry heard around this world. It's going to be a war cry that you don't hear it, it goes through you. Okay? It's going to be a hell of a war cry. Because he's coming back with vengeance in his heart. Okay? So we've answered all the questions. Okay? We've answered all the questions. Okay? And and this is the reason why all kindreds of the earth shall clap their hands and leap for joy and sing hallelujah, because Jesus has come back to save everybody. No, that's not what it says. Okay? Jesus doesn't exist. I told you, that's Tammuz. Okay? Bait and switch. Bait and switch. Stop falling for the same okie doke, man. And all kindreds of the earth shall wail. That's from the depths of their spirits as well. Because that fear is going to be on them. Because they're going to see Yahushua in all his angelic power. Okay? Like the Most High. Okay? Second to the Most High. Not the Most High, but like the Most High. Okay? They're going to see him in all his power and all his glory and all his splendor, and they're going to know he's not for their turn. He's coming back for vengeance on them. All the heathen nations. So you former brothers Hakan aside, tell me. Okay, movie line. How in the hell are the heathen nations getting deliverance and salvation? Does this sound like deliverance and salvation? Let's read it again. Behold, he cometh with clouds, and every eye shall see him, and they also which pierced him. We understand all that now. And all kindreds of the earth. The kindreds is another word or another reference to the nations. Okay? This was talking about. All the nations of the earth shall wail because of him. Even so, Mama, even so be it. Let it happen. Okay, now we understand all that. And we've answered all the questions. Let's go to Matthew 24 and let's wrap it up. Because that's as far as we got. We were supposed to get this maybe 15, 20, 30 minutes maybe, and then get into Luke 12. But we'll get it next week, subject to the Spirit. So let's go to Matthew 24. Okay. We're going to wrap it up here. We're going to get 29, 30, 31. Maybe. Yeah, I think that'll be enough. Maybe more. Matthew 24, 29, 30, and 31. Yes, that's it. Okay. Matthew 24 and 29. And this is kind of like trimmings and trappings. We've already gotten everything. Now we're just gonna do some garnishment. Okay? We're just gonna beautify it. We're gonna complete it. Okay? Matthew 24, 29, 30, and 31. Immediately, right away. Immediately, man. What's immediate mean? Immediately mean. It mean like after a little delay, a time gap? No, immediately, right after. Okay? After the tribulation of those days. We're in those days. Like I told you, he's coming back, and he's coming back quickly. You were right about that, but much sooner than you think. And we're in the tribulation of those days. Okay? And the tribulation of those days does not last a long time. And no, I can't tell you exactly how long, but it's not a long time. In our lifetime. In our lifetime. And that generation shall not pass. We are that generation until all these things be fulfilled. Right? Well, when did the generation begin? Well, there is some kind of, fuzziness on that. But one thing's for sure, it began decades ago. So if we're in that generation and that generation shall not pass, in other words, this whole generation is not going to die out, and it began decades ago, how much longer can it go? Not much longer. It's coming soon, you got that, but much sooner than you think. Much sooner than you think. Okay? And we're in that, so it's going to end sometime real soon. And immediately after it shall the sun be darkened. What's this talking about? And the moon shall not give her light. Okay? And the stars shall fall from heaven. And the powers of the heavens shall be shaken. What's this talking about? This is talking about, without getting into it super deep, right? This is talking about the thermonuclear destruction that I already told you about earlier. Okay? Because there's going to be so many of those thermonuclear mushroom clouds that the sister saw in her dream that I told you about earlier. And it's going to be so many of those one thermonuclear mushroom cloud, one of them, man, from an actual strategic warhead. Okay? It's going to kick up so much soot and dirt and dust and ash into the atmosphere that just one of them is going to darken the sun and the moon and the stars in a whole massive area. Just one of them. It's going to be, pursuant to Revelation, the 9th chapter, hundreds of millions of them all around the world, which is why, pursuant to the book of Revelation, there will be a great earthquake, which, according to Isaiah, the 24th chapter, about the 19th, 20th verse, is going to be worldwide. Excuse me, Ra'ib. I think you said it's going to be a worldwide earthquake, but I don't think you meant that, because that would be like what I just don't think you meant. Yes, it did. And I'm not saying that, I'm telling you what the scripture says. Okay? The earth shall reel to and fro. The earth shall reel to and fro like a drunkard. Oh, it's going to be that's what the Bible says. Go read it. Isaiah 24, like 19, 20, 21. And that's what it's talking about. So many massive thermonuclear mushrooms, clouds, detonations all around this earth, primarily here in America, Babylon the Great, that the whole earth is going to reel to and fro like a drunkard. Okay? All the buildings coming down, just like the young Shah saw in his dream and his vision. He told you, all the buildings were coming down. And the cities were blowing up. The cities were being destroyed. That's what the young Shah saw. And he saw his deliverance and salvation. He said he got beamed up into the chariots and he didn't come back down. I don't like that. I got deliverance and salvation and I didn't come back down. Yes. I do believe that young Shah is a member of the elect. Yahweh Azai is. And his mother as well. And his siblings. Yahweh Azai, if it be the will of the Heavenly Father, the whole household. Okay? All right? So we're over here. Okay? Starting to get dark and I'm getting ready to wrap up. Okay? So that's what that's talking about. And all those who are in rulership right now, they're going down and they're going down hard. Okay? The powers of heaven. That heaven is the metaphoric heaven. Metaphoric heaven is what? Rulership. Okay? It's a metaphoric, not a literal heaven. Okay? rulership, or on a lower level, just things are going really well for you. Okay, you know, you got the promotion that you always wanted. Your business is popping. You got the, come on, man, we're gonna call it heaven. Let's keep it real. Let's keep it a buck. You got the women that you want to have, because it is biblical and lawful for a man to have more than one woman. Okay, a bunch of lies here, forbidden to marry, just like the scripture says. Okay, all these great and mighty men of the Old Testament had multiple wives that the Most High said He gave them. The Most High said it, point blank, period, out of His own mouth, that He gave it to them. Okay? And people want to talk about, no, you got to do that, that ain't right. Okay? Isaiah 4:1 is coming, yes, but it's going to be in the kingdom, not here. And that's just stupid. Tell me how any daughters of Zion are going to be in reproach in the kingdom of heaven. How are any daughters of Zion going to be needing to feed themselves and clothe themselves in the kingdom of heaven? I don't understand this. All right? These, brothers that say that these brothers, they teach the scriptures too. So how can you say that? I don't know. But anyway, Salakia for my zeal, brothers. Okay? Salakia for my zeal. But hey, look, I gotta give it to you as the Spirit gives it to me, and I gotta give it to you in the manner in which the Most High puts the Spirit on me to give it to you. Okay? But it's all love. Okay? Sometimes the truth hurts, but it's still the truth, and it's still for your benefit. And I don't see that. I don't see how you do that. Okay? Anyway. And then shall appear, okay, so while that's happening, I told you, simultaneous with the missiles in the air. Some are going to be landing, but wherever they're landing, there ain't no elect there. That's why they can land, right? But wherever their elect's at, those missiles that's going to land where the elect at, they're going to be en route. They're going to be in the air, okay? And before they get to where the elect is at, okay, this is what's going to happen. And then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man, Yahushua, in heaven, meaning the sky. Oh, because I told you there's 4 heavens. One of them's metaphoric. We already talked about that, when the powers of heaven shall be shaken. And then there's 3, if my fingers will work. There you go. Cold, man. 3 literal heavens, right? 3 literal heavens, right? That's the first one is the abode. The first one is the lowest heaven. Going from the bottom up. The first one is this atmosphere. The second one is outer space. The third one is the abode of the Most High, the spiritual realm. Those are the 3 literal heavens, right? Okay, so where we at? Then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven. That's this atmosphere right here. The sky. Behold, He cometh in clouds. The chariots. And then shall all the tribes of the earth, all the nations, okay, of the earth, mourn. What's that over there in Revelation 1:7? Wail. They're gonna howl, wail, mourn, because they know that salvation ain't coming for them. Destruction's coming for them, and slavery to the Israelites in the kingdom of heaven. What the hell, man? Okay, and they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven. The chariots, the vehicles of the 4th dimension, metaphorically refers to as clouds. Psalms 104:3. He maketh the clouds His chariots. Okay? It's written in code so that you don't know what it means unless you're of the elect and you have ears to hear. Because even if you're not of the elect and you don't have ears to hear, even if I tell you, you still ain't going to hear it. This is an open secret. You can tell people, and yet it still remains a secret because they can't receive it. With power and great glory like you can't imagine. Okay? For real. When Yahushua comes back, He's coming to bring unimaginable death and destruction. And that is a gross understatement. 31. And He shall send His angels. Yahushua is coming back. He ain't coming back by Himself. He's coming back with a whole host of angels, right? Lots and lots of angels, all in chariots. And He shall send His angels with a great sound of a trumpet, and they shall gather together His elect, those that are called and chosen. Talking about the men. What about us, says the daughters of Zion? What about us, says the daughters of Zion? Well, and the daughters of Zion that are joined into those men, right? Because there are daughters of Zion, a lot actually. Many less than are going to get destroyed. A lot more are going to get destroyed than make it. A lot more are going to get destroyed. A lot more daughters of Zion, which are hardy, are going to get slain and killed by the Heavenly Father and Yahushua than are going to make it. But nevertheless, when you're just looking at the number, there's going to be a lot of daughters of Zion that do make it. Okay? A lot of them. Okay? And they're all going to be put with hopeful righteous men of the Lord, of which there will be far fewer. Far fewer. Showing you clearly, Isaiah 4:1, all the Israelite men are going to the kingdom of heaven with multiple wives. A lot. Okay? And I did some rough calculations, and I think I came up with it has to be on average triple-digit women with each man to start. And could could possibly potentially be more. But we'll see. But there are daughters of Zion which are clearly fellow heirs to the grace of life. Them too. All right, they're part of the 1/3, along with the friends of the prophets. And really, when you understand it, the 144,000 is a subset of the 1/3. Okay, but the 1/3 includes the 144,000, which the 144,000 is the pinnacle of that, the top of that. And he shall send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet, and they shall gather together his elect. Now you know who that's talking about. From the four winds. The four winds is east, north, south, and west. From one end of heaven to the other. See? So these angels are going to be zipping back and forth around in the chariots, delivering, beaming up, come up hither, beaming up the chariot, beaming up the elect wherever they're at, zipping around before the missiles land in that spot. Okay? They're going to beam up the elect right before the missile lands in that spot. Deliver the elect, zip, 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 all over the place. East, north, south, and west, from one end of heaven to the other. They're going to be zipping all around, and then they're going to take the elect and take them back to the chariot that Yahushua is in. Most likely that's the way it's going to go down. Okay? Because ultimately, I would imagine, ultimately, we're all going to be in the chariot that Yahushua is in. Okay? Because we have to have the marriage supper of the Lamb. Okay? And get our crowns, and eat and drink wine with Yahushua. I will not drink of the fruit of the vine again until I drink it with you in the kingdom of heaven. Paraphrasing, that's what Yahushua said. Okay? And that's it. Let me read it one more time. And he shall send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet, and they shall gather together his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven to the other. So we've answered all the questions. Okay? We've answered all the questions. Okay? When is he coming? Soon, and very soon, and much sooner than you think. How's he going to be? What type of mood? What type of disposition he's going to be in when he comes? He's going to be in a killing and destroying mode. Okay, coming to bring fire on the earth. I'm not come to bring peace, but a sword. Okay, and division. Okay, the division was more for back then, right? Okay, he's coming to rage according to Revelation 19. War in righteousness. What in righteousness? War. Okay? And his vesture is going to be dipped in what? Blood. Okay? Unimaginable death and destruction once you listen. Okay? So he's coming to do that. And then simultaneously with that, he's delivering the elect of the nation of Israel. And we're going to the marriage supper of the Lamb, and we're going to be changed as we're beamed up. The mortal's going to put on immortality. The corruptible is going to put on incorruption. And we're going to be with Yahushua forevermore. We're going to get our crowns. We're going to eat and drink with Yahushua, drink wine. We're going to have the marriage supper of the Lamb. And then I beheld, as it were, and I saw a new Jerusalem. It's talking about the men descending from heaven as a bride adorned for her husband, right? Because we're going to come down, and when we come down to establish the kingdom of heaven here on this earth, all right, along with Yahushua, under Yahushua, but along with Yahushua, as fellow heirs with Yahushua, joint heirs with Yahushua, okay, to rule and reign under him, but with him in the kingdom of heaven forevermore, okay, we're going to be like him. 1 John 3:1-2, okay, Zechariah 12:8. The 1 John 3:1-2, paraphrasing that. Let me just read that. Let me read the 1 John 3:1-2 and the Zechariah 12:8, and I'll close. Okay? Because we're going to come down, and it's going to be, man, it's no words, man. It's no words. Okay? Okay? We're going to come down and we're going to be immortal God kings with bodies like Yahweh body. And I'm going to read it to you right now. And then I'm going to close. I'm already out of time. 1 John 3, 1 and 2. Behold, what manner of love the Father hath bestowed upon us. The us is not everybody. The us is the Israelite man. Starting with the elect Israelite man, which I already told you, that's the prophets and the friends of the prophets. That we should be called the sons of God. Let me put it another way, that we should be called Yashar Allah. Yashar Allah is the Hebrew way of saying Israel, Israelite, Israelites. Okay? Because that's literally what Israel or Israelite means. It means the son of God, the prince of the power, which is where I get my YouTube handle from. That's the literal direct translation of Israelite. That we should be called Israelites, sons of God, princes of the power. All the same thing, synonymous. Therefore, the world knoweth us not, because it knew him not. Behold, now are we Israel. Are we Yasha Allah? Now are we the sons of God. And it doth not yet appear what we shall be. Yeah, it doesn't appear what I'm going to be. Right? You look at me right now, I'm out here, I'm all cold and stuff. You know, looking all, got to bundle up or I'm going to freeze, you know? Right, because you can't tell that right now when you look at the men of the Lord. Okay, that's what he's saying. Yeah, you can't tell what we're going to be by looking at us right now. But we know, Faith, that when he shall appear, when Yahushua comes, what's going to happen when Yahushua comes? You already told me what's going to happen. Yeah, but something else is going to happen. We shall be like him. We're going to be made like him. And he's coming back in what? All his angelic power. So what are we going to come back with when we come back down on this earth to establish righteousness, establish the kingdom of heaven with Yahushua, but with Yahushua, what are we going to be like? We're going to be like him. We're going to be in our angelic power too, because that's what we are. Okay? It's just not manifested right now. But we know that when he shall appear, we shall be like him, for we shall see him as he is. Let's put a hell of an exclamation mark on that with Zechariah 12 and 8. And then I'm going to wrap it. Line upon line, precept upon precept. Here a little and there a little. That's what we're doing all day long. To get the what? Understanding. And the knowledge. You got to have the knowledge first. If you don't have knowledge, how can you understand it without having it? You got to get the knowledge first, then you can get the understanding. And that leads to wisdom. Zechariah 12 and 8. Here it is. Okay. Final precept. Subject to the Spirit. In that day, the day that it's referring to here in the scriptures is the day we've been talking about all along. Okay. The day of Yahweh, the day he returns. And that day shall Yahweh defend the inhabitants of Jerusalem. Okay. This is talking about in the kingdom of heaven. And he that is feeble among them, meaning there's not going to be any feeble Israelites, okay? But the Israelite that is weakest amongst the Israelites, so that's a relative comparative term. He that is feeble amongst them, meaning feeble compared to his brother, okay? Because ain't no Israelites going to be feeble. We're about to find that out. So the weakest amongst the Israelites, he that is feeble among them at that day shall be as David. Now, if you know anything about King David, when it comes to spiritual power and being a warrior on this side, nobody could step to King David. And if you really want to understand, that would include, in my estimation and opinion, Samson. Samson had great power, yes. But look, in my estimation and in my opinion, Samson would be on the order of one of King David's mighty men. Like, one of the higher level mighty men that's under King David with great power. Okay, they can handle their business, right? But they are a step or two below King David. That's where I think Samson would be. Okay, a lot of power, a lot of spiritual power. Okay, that's why he was able to kill so many Philistines, right? But that to me would be like King David's, the upper echelon of his mighty men, because he had a lot of mighty men, but as you went down, their power diminished. Right? But even at the bottom, they had spiritual power. And you might, and if you was a heathen, you wouldn't want to step to them without a certain number of men, because otherwise, if you stepped to them with just 10, 15, 20 men, he gonna wipe the floor with that 10, 15, 20 men, because they got spiritual power. Why? Because they're angels. We are angels in fleshly bodies. Like the brother said, our spirits are charged. Okay? Zechariah 12 and 8. Okay? So the weakest amongst us is going to be like King David. And on this side of the kingdom of heaven, King David's the pinnacle with regards to being a warrior. Well, we know nobody had more spiritual power than Yahushua, but Yahushua wasn't being a warrior. Okay? He came to show his miracles as a sign to the nation so that we would believe on him, right? But King David was a warrior. With regards to being a warrior, he was the pinnacle. Okay? If King David was here today with that type of spiritual power, nobody would be able to touch him. Okay? Even with the technology they had. Okay? So he's the pinnacle on this side. In the kingdom of heaven, the Most High is going to take the peak on this side, and he's going to make that the floor. It's going to start there. So you see, no Israelite man is going to be weak. But compared to his brethren, he that is feeble amongst them shall be like King David. But what about once you go up? What about that? And the house of David. Stop. The house of David. What is that? The house of David is the 144,000 I've been telling you about. And you can also say the prophets, the friends of the prophets as well, because they get a prophet's reward. They're going to be with us, right? So I would say, I think it's safe to say they're going to be included too, right under us. Okay, not equal, but right under us. Just like we're on the same level as Yahushua, but under him, okay? I don't even want to put it that way, say we're on the same level. We have power like Yahushua, but it's less than his. Just like he has power like the Father, but less than the Father's. And we have power like his, but less than his. The most likely the friends of the prophets are going to have power like ours, but less than us. There's order and levels and rank to everything. Let everything be done decently and what? In order. There's an order to everything. Okay? So I would say the friends of the prophets would be included as well. And that day shall Yahweh defend the inhabitants of Jerusalem, and he that is feeble among them at that day shall be as David, and the house of David, which is the prophets, shall be as, now it literally says God, shall be as God. But it is the Hebrew word Alahayim. It shall be as the Alahayim, which are what? Angels. Going back to Genesis, the first chapter, wherever it says God, it's actually the Alahayim. Okay, led by Yahushua, the top God, the top power, the top divine one. And the rest, the other ones with him, that's the 144,000, which are the angels that are here on this earth in flesh and blood bodies as men, doing and fulfilling the office of prophets. Okay? And the house of David shall be as God, as the angel of Yahweh before them. So this is saying the same thing we got in 1 John 3, 1 and 2. We're going to be just like Yahushua, with divine, godlike, angelic power when we come back down. Believe that. Whether you can hear it, whether you can receive it or not. Thus said the scriptures. That's the true understanding. All right? So, Yahweh Razah, you all were edified. All right? And so with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn to face the east. And before, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up, turn to face the east. And before I do, I want to Nathan call to Pa'arath, Hawaii, Wahalayim, Rabbatum Yallah, Allah Hayanawa, Yahweh, Bahashim Yahweh, Shabbat, HaKudash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Much peace, love, and respect to the brothers teaching, pushing this truth out the four corners of the earth. Adonai Razah, this lesson was edifying and encouraging to you, Achim, and any Achwaf that may be listening and or watching. Ayash Miyakona, Azangim Lashemai Shemai. Let him who has ears to hear. Kwam Yasharala, Baba Kusha, Abai, Baba, Aitha, Wakal Adawam. Shalom Lahabachariam, peace to the elect. Ahaba thumb to you brothers, Ahaba thumb to you sisters. Abai, Babal, Wakal Adawam, Wakal Gawayim. All right, peace to the elect. Ahaba thumb, Yawam Tawab, Layala Tawab. All right, remain faithful to the end. We almost out of here. All right, our deliverance and our salvation draw near. Shalom.